And the executioner is back. And remember, if you go up against the executioner, you might come up a head short. So, I spent about 6 months rocking vomit out of my ass after watching that stupid wet fart of a show called Holy Moly. Yes, I talked about this show before, and yes, this is the perfect comparison. This show is gross, annoying, and not at all entertaining. Not one fucking bit. It's kinda like me. So, to anyone listening who has not had the honor of seeing this gem of a show, I'm gonna give you the basic premise. Holy Moly is like that TV show Wipeout meets miniature golf. It's miniature golf set to an obstacle course, and that's the least annoying part of the show. You wanna know what would make this show more fun and watchable? Is if they dropped the mini golf and the obstacle course bullshit, and they let the contestants run around and beat each other with the clubs. That would make this more fun and watchable, and less soft and family friendly in the process. And speaking of which, they should get rid of that fucking try-hard, goofball, cheeseball, comedic host. I would love to fucking smash him and his golf balls. Alright, now that little mini rant is over, let's keep on going. Now, I initially talked about this turkey dud of a show about 5 months ago when it got picked up for a second season. Well, lo and behold, it got picked up for a third. Though I can't really be all too surprised, considering the fact that this piece of shit show is on a piece of shit network. I mean, this network is running its 12th season of Shark Tank. Though I have to admit that show is at least a little bit valuable. But at the same time, it's also airing its fucking 30th season of The fucking Bachelor. Holy moly, season 3. Just when you thought things couldn't get any stupider. They'll set the bar to the lowest entertainment standards ever. Even lower than me. So, sitting here thinking about this fucking show, I don't know what the worst is about it. Oh, can it be the overall premise? The fact that it's called Holy Moly? Or its cornball nature? The fact that it's soft, fluffy, and uninteresting to watch? Is it the unsufferable, unfunny, comedic cornball host? Or how about the fact that I'm talking about this toilet trot of a show 5 months later? Moving on. The next topic I want to get into is the 1985 film Hell. And what an appropriate title that is, considering the fact that it was hell to get through. I saw the fact that Ray Sharkey was in it, so I thought it'd be a good movie. Nope. The basic premise. So as always, this is not going to be a full-on review, but just a couple of blurbs and afterthoughts about the film. Ray Sharkey plays a hitman for a corporation who has sent out to retrieve some documents from a lady employee. Well, Einstein ends up killing the lady, but not before her daughter ends up showing up and witnesses the crime scene. She escapes, but she doesn't get too far. The hitman magically finds her, despite the fact that there was no way in hell he would have been able to, because she was way too far ahead of him. Well, anyways, he catches her, he drops her out of a fucking window, and needless to say, he botches up the hit. She doesn't end up dead. She gets amnesia instead and ends up in a mental hospital. And the hitman is then charged with going to look after the woman to make sure she doesn't regain her memory, and if she does, whack her. While in the asylum, the girl who has the amnesia finds out that there's a place called Hellhole in which they take all the bad girls to get experimented on. And what could have been a pretty decent thriller turns into a big bag of dog shit. The storyline took a backseat and crumbled to girl fights and shower scenes. You know, it's almost as though the filmmakers knew that they had absolutely nothing with this film, so they said, you know what? Don't let the plot interfere with the nude scenes. Full disclosure, I fell asleep about 30 minutes into the film, and then I turned it off after about 45 minutes. I just had enough. so I didn't even finish the fucking thing. But, on the other hand, it really does take a special kind of bag to make me fall asleep. The last movie I fell asleep through was the 2006 Miami Vice, and I fell asleep through that twice. From what I've seen, I feel as though this movie doesn't need to exist. Nothing can save it. I mean, it really doesn't exactly bring anything to the fucking table. It's just there taking up space. Though if anyone listening feels the need to torture themselves, it is currently being streamed on Tubi TV right now, as I record this. I will give an honorable mention to Mary Warnoff, though I have absolutely no idea how they sucked her into doing it. I mean, Jesus, not even she could save this fucking turkey. The maniac is back on the attack and taking no prisoners. This is a Jaws of Wrath podcast. And the executioner is back. I'm fast as a shark and just as deadly. Let's talk about something a little fun today. Let's talk about the band Wasp, circa 1984. They went through several lineups and several different band name changes before they settled on Wasp in 1982. Band names such as Circus Circus and Sister. They went through several lineups and several different band name changes before they settled on Wasp in 1982. Band names such as Circus Circus and Sister. And when all was said and done, they were definitely one of the more heavier bands in the LA scene back in the 80s, early 80s. You had Blackie Lawless on bass and vocals, you had Chris Holmes and Randy Piper slaying the fucking guitars, and you had Tony Richards beating the shit out of the drums. And their stage show was a nightmare come true. Look at all the horror and bombastic stuff they did in their shows back then. I still think of them as the 1980s version of Alice Cooper. There were chains, saw blades, skulls, blood, raw meat thrown at the audience. Flaming band logo. Signs of torture. Dude, they fucking went all out. They knew how to haunt the stage, and they fucking did it well. And I mean, Jesus Christ, they battered and beat the shit out of every single fucking band in their way, too. It's actually kind of a fucking shame that there were other bands around that made it bigger than they did. I mean, Wasp fucking deserved the career that certain other bands had, like fucking Motley Crue and Rat and Dawkins. Well, for what it's worth, Wasp totally fucking obliterated all of them. Blew them right out of the fucking water. No arguments. Well, now that I mentioned their look and stage presence, what about their music? Well, their music is heavy as fuck, just like their look and their stage presence. In other words, their first album speaks for itself. I'm gonna quickly go over some of their notable songs off their 1984 album. Let's start with their first single, their rock anthem, I Wanna Be Somebody. Check that song out, it's fucking awesome. How about their suggestive song, Love Machine, or even their even more infamous suggestive song, Animal Fuck Like a Beast. Both really good fucking songs. Check those out too. You won't be disappointed. They had a quasi-power ballad song called Sleeping in the Fire, which was also pretty damn fucking good. I can't forget to mention their trilogy of terror songs, Show No Mercy, On Your Knees, and Tormentor. All great fucking songs. Check them out. I also want to mention the passable cover song that they did, Painted Black by the Rolling Stones. Another pretty good song. With those songs and a handful of others released on their debut album, they marched into their first major tour. And for some unfortunate aftermath, the original drummer was fired before 1985, thus unfortunately ending the original lineup. Another aftermath for this band is that a year or so later, they would end up in the crosshairs of the PMRC, a group of assholes who had nothing better to do but to bitch about music. And Blackie Lawless and Wasp ended up becoming one of their favorite targets. Oh, he gave them fucking nightmares. But there's no real sense in bitching about those morons, at least right now. Maybe I'll bring them up again later on. This is the Jaws of Wrath podcast. And the executioner is back. I am the midnight mover of your nightmares. And tonight, I will be tackling the hunk of shit group called the PMRC. The PMRC, the born right to censor losers of America. So these fucking losers were the moral police who wanted to save the children from objectionable music. But all it was a blatant, pathetic power grab. And boy, it was pathetic with a capital fucking P. I mean, Jesus Christ, these people had absolutely nothing better to do with their time than bitch about music and make themselves feel morally superior to everyone else. In short, they were just a bunch of vapid fucking dolts circle jerking each other off. That's it. So here's a short list of what was happening in this country when these vapid asshole codpieces were forming their group. So back in the mid-80s, when this useless sack of shit group, the PMRC, formed, we were in the middle of an AIDS epidemic, there was a crack problem, and we were still in a Cold War with the Soviet Union. And what did these bird-brained losers want to do? They wanted to put explicit content lyric stickers on CD covers. How fucking shallow. That was the PMRC in a goddamn nutshell. The fortunate outcome, however, is these power-hungry, power-grabbing sacks of monkey shit ended up becoming obsolete just like every other group like them. And what makes their downfall even more funny is that these stupid fucking stickers that they fucking pushed to put on CDs, they don't even fucking matter anymore. And in the end, the PMRC was just another group who wanted to push their fake outrage and fake morality on other people. That's it. They didn't do anything for anyone, and they accomplished jack shit. Shallow bullcrap, that's it. Now Dee Snider, Frank Zapka, and John Denver went up against these clowns in the Senate, and they completely obliterated them. They blew these assholes right out of the water. And what is the PMRC's legacy? Absolutely nothing. Nothing of worth at all. If you want to learn about the Corchesters of the 80s and 90s, I suggest you look at their Wikipedia page. But you know what? You should spare yourself the torture. Don't even bother. It's not worth it. So, to end the subject of the PMRC, Moronic Bird-Brain Losers Club, I would have to say that they are the equivalent of the morons who try and walk through sliding glass doors. Because they're dumb. And with that said, the executioner's signing out. Until next time. This is the Jaws of Wrath podcast. And the executioner is back. You want to know who came up a head short? But not by the hands of the executioner, but by the blade of a helicopter. Actor Vic Morrow. Yes, this show's getting a little bit dark, just the way I like it. So, it's a pretty well-known story on how this actor lost his head on set. Anyways, it was towards the end of Vic Morrow's shooting days. It's a dangerous scene. He has 2 kids in his arm, trampling through water. There's explosions, helicopters. The pilot loses control. The helicopter swings down, crashes. The blade slices off his head just like that. It was a big fucking mess. I'm sure there were screams of fright as his head got sent flying to the craft service table. There you have it. One day, you're an A-list actor in a pretty big budget movie, and the next day, you get your head lopped off like a fucking chicken from a goddamn helicopter blade. So thanks to the selfish act of this guy popping his top off, the production was thrown for a loop, and I'm pretty sure some of the producers had to flee. Now, I don't know if he actually got his head sent flying into the craft service table, but it would have been kind of slapstick if it did. Moving on. Bradley Delp, lead singer of Boston, a band that I actually like. He made the mistake of running a charcoal grill in an enclosed room in his house, and he ended up dying from carbon monoxide poisoning. Sad end to a great career. That happened in the late 2000s in a town not far from where I actually lived. Why he risked and lost his life cooking food in a bathroom, I'll never know. Another unfortunate death? Rocky Dennis went to bed one night, his brain exploded. Literally. That kid went through life with elephantitis of the face, and that's how he ends up dead. So the last one I'm going to talk about today is David Carradine. His death was sad, epic,